So the modern approach to tort is that we use mathematical and statistical data and we make that part of the assessment of the costs and the damages which the court is likely to award. We remain, however, very much aware that our cases are fact-dependent and evidence-dependent. It's important not to lose sight of that. The fact that one may produce a paradigm of numbers in a theoretical sense is not worth anything without the factual nexus required to support it. And when you are drafting a schedule or a counter schedule, it is the interplay between the fact and the mathematics which you need to understand. Well, let's consider some investment possibilities. Supposing our claimant gets the £1,000 from the case and decides that the way to protect himself against inflation is to put the money on a horse at the odds of 3-1. Well, that's fine if the horse wins. Claimant gets £3,000, puts that onto the bed, and probably, unless inflation is very rampant, that will more than cover the costs of his surgery. The problem is, of course, that the horse is going to lose a good deal of the time, which means that if the £1,000 is bet on the horse, the claimant's going to have nothing at all. Equity investment, buying stocks and shares, is, of course, safer than horse racing, but it's still not guaranteed. The claimant may still lose money over 10 years, even if they buy stocks and shares, although they may do a lot better than they would have done by sticking the money under the bed. Another point about calculation of future losses of earnings is that you should be aware that in some cases the court will form the view that rather than going through this rather complicated exercise of looking at the different multipliers and so on, the fairest and simplest thing to do is simply give the claimant some sort of lump sum, which will usually be 1 or 2 years' losses of earnings. That was originally done in Smith and Manchester, 1974, 17 KIR 1. But more recently, and in the well-known case of Blaymar and South Cumbria Health Authority, 1993, Personal Injury Quantum Reports 1. In those cases, and indeed in other cases since, that has been the preferred approach. It isn't always entirely fair because, of course, it's a bit of a guesstimate. But where the judge thinks that essentially the claimant will get back into work, or perhaps is already in work, but hasn't really suffered a major loss, that is one way that can appeal to the court to give a figure, although it's obviously an acknowledged guess.